to let you know who I am. I come from Halcyon Social Enterprise Incubator in Washington, D.C. I see some of our fellows in the back, thank you. And I'll be your MC for today. Just to kind of give you an idea, for those of you who don't know about GIST, it's the Global Innovation Through Science and Technology program. This is the State Department's flagship startup program that focuses on science and technology startups. It empowers young innovators to build startups through networking, through skills, through mentoring, and of course access to finance. The GIST Catalyst Pitch Competition looks at some of the top emerging startups from around the world, and we're here at the GES to give them a global stage to share with the kinds of businesses that they're looking to create. There's GIST opportunities for all of you. If you need to learn more, please visit gistnetwork.org. That's GIST network.org. So during the GES, we're going to be hearing 24 pitches, 6 companies from each of the 4 pillars, which you see kindly marked on the pillars next to you. Today, we are going to be hearing from companies all in the digital economy and fintech sectors. There are 6 companies that are going to be pitching, and I'm really looking forward to introducing them all. But first, you cannot have a great pitch competition without a great panel of judges. And of course, we have that in spades today. So first, let me just introduce you to our esteemed panel of judges. First, we have Elizabeth Gore, who is the entrepreneur in residence at Dell, chairman of the board of Alice. Doug DeVos, who's the president of Amway. Rajan Anandan, Google's vice president for Southeast Asia and India. Kamuda Govindarajulu, not bad, right? Director of the Innovation Group at Cognizant here in India. And finally, Bikram Bedi, Amazon's head of the India region. So let's give a round of applause for our judges. Excellent, and let's go ahead and get things started because we have 55 minutes to do 6 pitches and everything's going to run on clockwork, of course. Just so you know, each panelist is going to have 3 minutes to give their pitch, and then there will be 5 minutes of Q&A just from the judges. At the conclusion, the judges will have a few minutes to deliberate, and we will announce the winner from the fintech and digital economy sector right here before the session ends, and hopefully before 11:30. So with that, let me introduce our first startup, who is Roger Zoundi from Scoring Card from Burkina Faso. Roger, welcome to the stage. Good luck.
I'm Roger Zoundi, data-driven entrepreneur and co-founder of Scoring Card LLC. Today, there is a financial inclusion problem. Women from India and sub-Saharan Africa don't have access to credit capital. We are building a P2P lending platform combined to online payment systems and electronic payment infrastructure to let women access to loans with a rate of 4% interest rate. Our value proposition is allowing women to have access to a loan with $0% of fees, $0% of cost, and $0% of penalties. It also allowing global lenders to ensure repayment of their loans by making restriction to borrowers to use the loans only on online payment system and on online pay and on electronic payment systems. Our target market is more than 300 women from India and sub-Saharan Africa. Our target market is more than 300 women from sub-Saharan Africa and India. We get paid from these women by asking them 2% of the interest rate. Dear judge member, by letting access Scoring Card LLC to final stage this competition, you give yourself opportunity to become a global lender. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. We can now take some questions from the judges.
Yeah, hi. First of all, congratulations. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about the traction you're having, how many loans you've given out, and any data you have in terms of NPAs, how many of the loans have been paid back? Give us some sense of total transaction. So you've launched, right? You've launched the business already.
Right.
Give us some sense of like the actual performance of the business, so we get a sense of how your cost of acquisition, the loans given out, the NPAs. Give us some financial metrics that will give us some sense of how you're doing.
We ask for investment of $50,000, and with this investment, we're going to launch Scoring Card in India and connect 10,000 women to global lenders. And by borrowing just $5,000 to every woman, we are going to make
Do you have another
return investment of $2 million
There's two out there? Okay, great.
with 4% interest rate. So our venture is scalable in this way.
Sorry, no. Have you launched in Africa already?
Yeah, we begin in the last 4 months. We made more than $200 by selling credit reports. Yeah.
Roger, good job. I know this is really hard, and I'm very proud of you. So
Thank you.
Stefan is doing a good pitch. What is it? How are you scaling digitally? So you were saying you wanted to go from Africa to India and so on. What kind of digital platform are you using to scale?
So we are building ScoringCard.bf. That is a peer-to-peer lending platform connected to an online payment system, an electronic payment system. So by this way, we are going to connect women who need to borrow money to investors and individuals who are going to become a global lender. So it's from the peer-to-peer lending platform the most value proposition is to be combined to online payment terminals. In this way, we are going to ensure repayment because the loan will be used only with the online system. So the lenders will be repaid by percentage of every transaction. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Help me understand how you're differentiating yourself from others that are operating in this space. Why are you different? Why are you special? Why, what value are you bringing to your customers in this way? Help me understand the difference from people who are already doing this work where it's been started.
P2P lending is not new venture. There are already some P2P lending platform, but our innovation is to combine this P2P lending platform to payment terminals and to online payment platforms. So in this way, we are going to ensure repayment. Because the more challenge for P2P lending venture is to ensure the repayment. P2P lending venture has a huge potential to be global. By getting to ensure the repayment, so we are going to make it more global. That is why we're asking for investment to launch it and connect India women and sub-Saharan African women that we estimate for 300 millions women to the US investors. So our most innovation is to introduce the online payment system. So for example, a woman who gets our loan will not receive a cash, but a credit card. With the credit card, she's going to make her investment only by paying, for example, equipments online and selling her product, for example, Shibuto, with payment terminals. And the lender will get repaid by percentage of transaction. So if the woman when the woman sells $1,000, the lender will automatically receive a percentage of this transaction. So that is going on until the lender gets repaid. So that is how we are different.
Roger, thank you very much. We're out of time, I'm afraid. Now let me go ahead and introduce Meredith Peng from Humanitry from the United States. Turn hers up a little.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Meredith, and I'm going to be pitching about Humanitry. So let's start off with this. In Indonesia, 4 children every minute drop out of school. By the end of this pitch, if I'm on time, that's going to be 12 kids. By the end of this summit, that's over 17,000 children in Indonesia alone. Furthermore, in 2016, 2.5 million children could not advance from elementary school to middle school due to financial constraints, access to education, etc. These issues are worldwide, so that number could easily be in the tens of millions. And in addition, these issues oftentimes disproportionately affect girls over boys. So let's say you're a Good Samaritan, which I hope you guys are, and you want to help sponsor a child through education. But how do you know that your money is being safely and securely transacted? How do you know that the organization you're going to be sponsoring to is trustworthy and effective? And how do you know where your impact is going? Introducing Humanitry. Humanitry is going to be a mobile-based app solution, iOS and Android, that will attempt to tackle these issues. Through your smartphone, you will be able to see verified and trusted organizations, select through a child through filters such as gender, age, and the child's dreams, see updates regularly from your child, write letters to your child directly, and also see where your impact is going through a user dashboard and social media integration. Through Humanitry, we want to make it as easy to sponsor a child as subscribing to Netflix. After all, the cost is exactly the same. So let's talk about market. We're going to be targeting the Indonesian diaspora market, which is 8 million strong, as well as existing child sponsors, which are already experiencing the pain points listed above. There's already traction in this market. $3.29 billion has already been transacted through traditional child sponsorship means, and we're going to make that number grow. And after we succeed in Indonesia, we're going to be taking this worldwide and scaling it to places like India, the Philippines, and Mexico, where child sponsorship issues and access to education is an issue, and where the diaspora community is large. So we're already hustling and moving forward with Humanitry. We've secured one partnership already with a very successful one-to-one child sponsorship organization in Indonesia, and we've already validated the demand for our solution. We're also going to be charging a leads generation fee. So for each lead generated through Humanitry, we'll be charging a fee, as well as for premium services and support. Our team is 4 dedicated individuals who have the right experience and skills to keep moving this forward. We are people who have ranged from social impact to the child sponsorship space, and we really believe that this thing is going to work. We are still early stage, so that means we have been working off of sweat equity, but we would like to request $100,000 in either investment or grants to help keep moving this forward in terms of technical development, in terms of marketing, research, and helping get the right help to the people who need it the most. So if anyone has any idea of how to get that money, please let me know. We can talk in the back. We already have everything in place, a partnership, a prototype, and an existing user database that we will be using to be our first batch of users. We just need that money to keep moving forward. So I really think that together we can improve access to education around the world systematically, and especially when it comes to girls. So we're going to make this as easy as subscribing to Netflix. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Meredith. We're now going to take some questions from the judges.
First, hey, good job firstly. Thank you. The idea is brilliant in terms of not only helping out society but also making money. My question really would be scale. So what are you looking at over the next 3 years? How do you plan to scale this? What kind of numbers are you looking at? You know, what is it you're looking at in terms of which countries do you target first? Are you just going global? Some idea around
So to clarify, you're asking about revenue as well as which countries?
revenue, countries, number of children?
Okay, so right now, the organization we're partnering with already has 2,000 kids and 1,000 sponsors. We're looking at Indonesia first, and once we establish a base all over Indonesia, because the market is already super huge in Indonesia, we're going to be moving forward to maybe other countries, maybe India or the Philippines, where there's already existing child sponsorship, infrastructure in place. In terms of revenue, we're going to be looking at maybe a 2% fee for each lead generated, which is pretty small considering how only 80% currently goes towards children in the child sponsorship space already, meaning that 20% of all donations are going towards like marketing and like sales offline. So this is pretty valuable for those child sponsorship organizations. So we think that we have a lead there. And over 3 years, it should be around $7 to $10 million if all goes well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, congratulations.
you.
Who are your competitors and whom you think that would disrupt your product?
Yeah, so actually we are the first people going for this solution at this angle. We're not competing with existing child sponsorship organizations because we want to work with them instead to create, a better environment for child sponsorship. So currently people are doing child sponsorship through very traditional means, through offline, paper, etc. We want to be the first ones, and we are going to be the first ones to be taking this completely digital and really, streamlining the process. So we are the only ones in the field.
Okay, so you mean to say you don't have any competitors in the market?
Yeah, unless, of course, like a child sponsorship organization hears about it and decides, yeah, we are going to do this too. But we think that we have enough kind of, expertise and knowledge. Like one of our founders has been running a child sponsorship organization for 10 years. She knows the market. She knows what to do. Another one has co-founded the largest social enterprise in Indonesia. So through these partnerships and that network, we think that we can, really pull at what it is in Indonesia.
I was going to ask if you've targeted, first of all, Meredith, great job being
you.
here again. Have you targeted, education is very, very broad, have you targeted in certain markets, certain segments? Are you talking more primary, secondary, higher level? Have you targeted or thought about that? And then are you connecting it to results or following these students to their next levels of achievement?
So are you talking about the students or the market for users?
I'm talking about the students.
Okay, so for students, we're thinking generally it's going to be elementary school to high school. Usually when child sponsorship is ideal, you have someone who sponsors a child throughout their entire education. That way you can see the growth happen. And oftentimes people who sponsor children like to start from elementary school in order to see that growth. So we will likely be working more with the younger kids and hopefully seeing a continued sustainable kind of sponsorship throughout their high school years.
I'll just close with a really good job on presenting data on your access to capital needs. I have a lot of thoughts for you if you want to meet up after. And then I think your 2% affiliate fee is fine to your question. So
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, judges. And let's give a big hand for Meredith. Now next, let's welcome Janesh Sinha from Gyandan from India.
Hello everyone. My name is Janesh Sinha. I am one of the founders of Gyandhan. We are India's first education loan marketplace. We focused on the Indian study abroad market with season annual spend of $15 billion. Now, the problem is huge. While 46% of the higher education spend in the US is financed through education loans, that number for India is just 5%, despite the low income levels. There are two reasons for limited lending. First, lenders find it tough to estimate students' future income, and therefore they base education loan underwriting on parental income and collateral. We are solving for that by building a model that predicts students' future income. This model has been validated by two of our institutional lending partners already. The second problem is that cross-border movement of the students increases lenders' concerns around willful default simply because defaults in one country won't even affect the credit scores in the other. To solve for this, we have devised a unique two-country lending structure that we'll be soon launching. To students, we offer seamless products, great customer service, and all of this at no cost to them. we've had a great response so far with over $24 million in student loans originated in just 17 months since our inception. We get these students through in-person sessions, through DIY tools that we have developed, and through content that we have published. We have absolutely no marketing spend. Now, through our partners, we earn an upfront commission, and we are working to add an ongoing carry to our revenue model as well. Our current customer acquisition cost is around $80, and we earn unit revenue of $400 per customer. We'll be able to increase the unit revenue to $1,500 through student loans alone, and to $3,500 including cross-sell. Before starting Gyandhan, my co-founder and I, we spent 5+ years shaping credit strategies at Capital One, which is one of the top banks in the US. We have Sundaram Finance, a major financial services group in India, as one of our investors. And we are currently seeking $3.5 million in financing to expand our current setup and to also establish a US lending arm. Now, this US lending arm is critical because it will allow us to roll out the two-country credit structure that I talked about. And it will also position us favorably to do cross-sells and service future financing needs of these students who, as new-to-credit borrowers in the US, are often underserved. Now, I went through financial hurdles myself during my higher education. I was fortunate. I was actually helped by a philanthropic initiative called Super 30. And through Gyandhan, I want to be able to do the same to others like me. I thank you, and I'm now open for questions.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you and congratulations. What great traction.
Thank you.
You should have been around when I had to go to college. It would have been very helpful
Thank you,
instead of
Raj.
paying MIT over 15 years. Can you talk a little bit about the credit model itself? I mean, how do you you kind of briefly spoke about that, right?
Yeah.
Is it your proprietary credit model?
Yes.
And then can you talk a little bit about what are the signals that you're using?
Yes.
How does that compare with, let's say, other credit models?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll differentiate between what we have is a student income prediction model. And then we integrate that through businesses and lenders' own risk parameters to create a credit model. Our expertise in the student prediction business, right? Student prediction modeling. In that model, we use our key focus market right now is Indian students going to the US and to Canada for their masters in engineering. So we use undergraduate variables like college, branch, their GRE score, their other standardized test scores, their college performance, their work experience. These form parameters. This is our own proprietary model. We spent 2.5 years gathering data from all the public sources, including Department of Labor's website, which publishes data on salary by location. And we've gathered all of it together, and I have background data science myself, and we use this to create the model.
Elizabeth?
Ultimately, I'm curious if you're going towards an acquisition.
Sorry, Elizabeth, I cannot hear you.
I don't know if you're ultimately going towards acquisition to sell your company, but I would definitely check out what SoFi, S-O-F-I, is doing, because I could see them ultimately acquiring what you've built and or helping you expand. So just a thought.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And we actually view SoFi as an idol, because what they've done, moving from just student financing and to tapping that student borrower and following and serving their follow-on financing needs, that's exactly what we want to do. Because student loans is the first step in somebody's career. And if you can catch those high earning, not rich yet customers early, then you have a great customer pool, and you don't only just build a great business, you also help these high potential individuals excel in their own lives and touch other lives as well.
Yeah, I had a question.
Yes, Vikram.
$3.5 million.
Right, sir.
Right. What are you going to do with it? Where are you planning to put it? How do you scale? Talk about that.
So the biggest expense is going to be involved in setting up the US lending entity. Now, I can't stress the importance of the US lending entity, because this arm will enable us to launch the two-country credit reporting structure. To every lender that we talk to in India, the biggest risk that they saw was the guy is going to a different country entirely. What if he doesn't pay back the money willfully? What do I do now? This will help solve for it, because their US credit score will be affected even with Indian defaults. We have vetted this structure through lawyers, by talking to credit bureaus in the US, and we now need to bring this to fruition, to life. And the biggest expense is going to be $1 million will be set aside towards raising debt as to use as the equity part to raise debt for doing our part of loans because we cannot report to US credit bureaus unless we are involved at least partially in lending. So we want to take a small chunk, 5% of every loan that we do. Secondly, we'll use some money in around $500,000 to set up US operations to get lending licenses. Now, we want to be smart about this. We want to start off with just 4 states. US has 50 states. Every state has its own lending license regulations. We don't want to go there. We just want to start with 4 states, establish a proof of concept, feel good ourselves, and then expand from there. So those are the big expenses, Vikram.
Jainish, congrats, and
Thank you.
good to see you here. One I see is a big boon to the student community. One is the market loan, the education loan. The second one is the employment that we're looking at, predicting the employment.
Yes.
So where do you see the market heading? Do you see any shifts you expect in the future?
In terms of
The market shifts.
So, in terms of the market shift in the higher education lending space, what we see is that education lending, if you look at the trend in India, was not even a thing till 2000s, very rare. Through government's push and IBA's push, at least the domestic education was financed. Still, the lending has remained limited to a very limited set of colleges. Only 1,200 colleges in India are financed through PSUs. There are 45,000 colleges in India. 4,500 engineering colleges in India and 30,000 universities in India. We want to be able to expand this, and that's where I see the market heading. The market is heading with the advent of more information. I see the market heading in the direction where students' own potential is being used for underwriting rather than parents' income. And we go deep and granular, and we're able to support even students going to tier 2, tier 3 colleges, and we find the gems in those colleges and we fund them.
Thank you very much, Janesh. Great job. Let's give him a hand.
Thank you, everyone.
I'd like to welcome up to the stage Evelyn Shalomo of Lupia Circle from Zambia.
Good morning. My name is Evelyn Kaingu, and I'm the founder of Lupia. In my country, Zambia, many women micro-entrepreneurs do not have access to formal financial services. They cannot obtain financial facilities to progress economically because they do not have collateral. They live in remote locations where they are not on the grid or cannot meet requirements that are subjective to a financial return for traditional financiers to prepare a financing package for them. So across Africa, traditional lenders have struggled to penetrate communities and provide financial packages for these communities. So what we are doing is developing a platform that will use a branchless service to provide financial services through mobile devices in communities, through our information systems and a network of market agents. So when we started our company, our goal was to create and develop a low-cost model that was able to target 5 million women who do not have access to financial packages. So what we have done in the past last year is mobilize money from lenders in a category we have classified as micro-investors, where we let people give us money up to $10,000 for a short period of time for an end interest. So we make money off the interest and a lower interest that we give back for technology. We streamline our processes. When we use technology, we're able to offer a branchless service and operate a low-cost model. And at the end of the day, we can give affordable loans and we can target a wider demographic that most traditional lenders will not target. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. Let's open up the floor to judges for questions. Elizabeth?
Wonderful job. It was great.
Thank you.
So Zambia mobile banking is just incredible. And I was curious how you're going to use mobile and mobile phones in addition to your receipts. Are you thinking of a mobile package with that?
Yes. So what's happening right now in sub-Saharan Africa is there's a proliferation of mobile money, which is pretty much kiosks that are found in communities. So we are developing a platform that will interact with the mobile agents that will then provide financial services to these platforms. We are also integrating with warehouse facility systems that will just automatically send us a warehouse receipt when a request is made on their platform to get financing from us. So there is a vetting system that we will use to actually disperse the loans through the mobile agents. Yeah.
Evelyn, great job.
Thank you.
Again, I'm curious, having done a little work in Zambia ourselves as our company, how are you, I thought you talked about using agents, using individuals to reach these women. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Help me understand the connection between your platform and your business model and how you're using people to connect to the ultimate customer.
Okay. So what we have done is we are in the cloud and have invented a package, an online management platform. So this is what the mobile agents are using on their tablets in the communities. Normally it's under a kiosk, a roadside stand, which they will use to give services. Now pre-hand, we will have agreements. We will have agreements with warehouse facilities. We will have agreements with the government code in our country that government employees can use to get loans through. We will have agreements pre-hand with organizations that give savings groups. So once we have these agreements, their members, their employees can go to these agents to actually access our facility because we'll have their pre-information and then we can just vet them based on what they have provided to the agent. Thanks.
Very good,
Thank you.
very good pitch, Evelyn. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Can you talk a little bit more about you're using a new signal, right? A credit decisioning signal, which is the receipts.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about what you're doing there and whether you have any early data on the correlationship between credit worthiness and the data that you're collecting on the grains at the warehouses? Just because, at the end of the day, it's all about credit decisioning,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
just talk a little bit more about that.
Okay. So just to give it some background information. So after agriculture in my country, men are most likely to get jobs while women remain dependents or grow food for sustainability. So women farmers are the most registered members in all these warehouse facilities that are providing high grain produce that the warehouse accepts because they have a criterion that they actually receive for the women to actually put grain in their facility. So they give us tradable warehouse receipts that we can use in the event that they default. We can sell on live markets. So the catch with us is the catch with these markets is that we need to monitor what the market rate prices are. And that is how we give qualifying loans to these women. So pretty much they grow maize, sorghum, cotton. So the lowest price that such products can go for is $10. $10. So pretty much what our vetting system, $10 per kg. So pretty much our vetting system is about the lowest price that we can get our money back, as well as providing loans to these women. So the biggest thing is to get high-grade products into the warehouse facility, and then they hand over the warehouse receipt to us, who put a caveat, because we now own the warehouse receipt until those women pay back our loans, and then we can give them back their warehouse receipt.
Oh, that's really, really smart. And are there other microfinance institutions that use a similar approach? Because you're estimating basically income, right?
Yes.
You're saying
yes.
that's a proxy for income,
Yes.
and therefore you can. How do the other microfinance institutions in the country decision credit?
So currently, there are microfinance institutions that are offering small loans, but we will be the first microfinance institution in our country that will operate online. So how we have picked up on this idea is that as we interacted in the market, women farmers said, we don't have collateral, how can you help us? So it's not until we discovered that majority of them are taking to trade, are getting warehouse receipts to trade on these live markets for a day that they can find a better rate on the market. So what we then decided quickly is because there is a big market that is untapped in our country, and no one has really picked up on this because it's very small amounts. So for traditional lenders, it's not justifiable for them to actually give loans on these small amounts because it doesn't support their operational costs. So immediately building a branchless service means we're operating a very lean structure. We only have 4 employees in our company. So the goal for us is to produce a very affordable product and make sure that the system is automated from A to Z. So very little human interference. Thanks.
Let's give a big hand for Evelyn.
I'd like to welcome to the stage Vivek Kumar of ClickIt from the United States.
75% of workplace harassment victims experience retaliation when they speak up. It's why many of them never do. Or it's why we see #MeToo trending across social media. The problem with walking into an HR department or writing an email to your manager, or trying to meet with the supervisor one-on-one about an issue you're having, is that in all of those scenarios, you, as the individual, have to put yourself out there. And not everyone is like the people in this room who feels comfortable doing something like that. So how can companies solve this problem that costs them millions of dollars a year in lawsuits, settlements, decreased productivity, turnover, and sick leave? Well, Clickit solves this problem. We make it super easy for organizations to engage with their employees through a simple micropulse survey that's taken before office workers access the internet at work each day. Our patented hardware and software solution easily integrates with your office Wi-Fi network. Employee engagement is a $75 billion market, and there are many solutions that exist for this type of thing. But there are 4 things we do differently than any other solution that exists. Number 1, we capture a 90% response rate. You cannot fix what you do not know. Number 2, we can do all of this in real time when employees are still on site. Number 3, we're able to capture information from the local area network that's not necessarily user-generated. And number 4, we can store all data locally rather than in the cloud. Think of us as Cisco meets SurveyMonkey. And while we can decrease the likelihood of harassment cases going unreported, we can also increase employee engagement through welcome announcements, pulse surveys, polls, leaderboards, articles of the day, and more. We charge companies $5 to $10 per employee per month, and we're already doing $240,000 in annual revenue with a similar solution we have in the hotel industry, where we collect guest feedback when guests are signing onto the internet there. We serve 120 paying customers in the United States, India, and Canada, and we have 99% customer retention. Our team comprises of individuals from leading institutions, including the University of Pennsylvania and the Wharton School, as well as corporate and startups as well. And we've already raised $630,000 and are looking for another $370K as part of a $1 million seed round. Thank you. We hope you'll come on board and help build this with us.
Thanks, Vivek. We have time for some judges' questions.
Yep. So you said this, right? Think of you like a Cisco with SurveyMonkey. Question would be, why wouldn't organizations just do this in-house? I mean, I know of a number of large organizations that just build their own. Why would they look at outsourcing this?
Well, it's a great question. So there are great players in the space of Wi-Fi, Cisco, Era, Luma. There are great players in the space of surveys, SurveyMonkey, GetFeedback, et cetera. It's very difficult to actually be able to integrate a piece of hardware onto someone's office network and not cause any disruptions. And it doesn't look like it's a very easily scalable thing to do unless you have a background in that space. And so no one's actually already completely conquered the market of combining the Cisco plus the SurveyMonkey aspect. There are other competitors, Glint, TinyPulse, et cetera. But none of them are able to get a 90% response rate. And the response rates that these companies are getting are often from people who are more active or are more extremist in their responses. They're not able to get the average employee's response, and so they're always missing out on some of these aspects. But what we do is we collectively ask everyone in the organization the same question, ensuring they're not putting themselves out there, but are simply choosing a multiple choice option that anyone else in the organization could pick as well.
Okay, thanks.
So you said it's already been implemented across the various customers. So how many customers it has been implemented, and what is the success rate you have seen so far?
So we initially started in the hotel industry. Actually, we were here in India and then in the US. And we have a 99% customer retention rate in the hotel industry, and we have 120 paying customers. And that's the $240K in annual revenue run rate. We are now expanding into the employee engagement market, which is a much larger market, and we currently have a few live pilots going on. We're seeing a similar use case of the product, although it's on a local internal network rather than a guest network. We have not started monetizing on the employee engagement side just yet, but the early pilots are going very well, and we're moving much faster in this market than we ever did in the hospitality market.
So the piloting is only done in the hotel industry?
Yes, we've primarily in 1 to 3 star hotel, motels, and B&Bs. 22 states in the U.S., a little bit here in India and Canada as well.
Vivek, nice presentation, well done. Just a question of, have you, with the rates and the process that you're getting about, have you had any early data about increases in engagement from employees or any results on what this has done to increase employee engagement or enhance the employee experience for the employee or the company?
You know, it's so early for us on that. We just started this in October, and we already have about 10 live pilot sites. So it's not enough data in terms of a time period to be able to prove that. But what we can say is the initial results from people we've been working with on it are very positive. They find it's very actionable advice, and it's often little things that you'd never think of, like the lighting could be improved in the office. A very easy fix. Or in a hotel, it's often, I wish I had extra pillows, or my TV remote isn't working. These are not things you'd necessarily report to the front desk, or maybe you'd go on TripAdvisor after the fact. But if it's super easy to present it to you, you're much more likely to just interact with it. And that's where we see the 99% retention that we have in the hotel space.
Thank you.
So just a closing piece of advice. Your technology is really good, but I think where you will beat out the enterprise companies like a SurveyMonkey and other is that there is such an extreme need for social relevance right now with Me Too campaign, with harassment going on. And I think where you will beat out getting contracts is you lead with the social value here, because there will be a greater trust from an HR director seeing a smaller company that really cares. So I would just put that forward as the social conscience is elevating right now, the business imperative of this right now. So I would lead with that every time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vivek. Great job. Let's give him a round of applause.
And last but not least, we have one more pitch, and that is from Saurabh Raj from Anaxi Digital Runners from India.
Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Saurabh Raj, and I represent Anaxi Digital Runners. So, India is the second largest country in terms of population, but definitely not the second largest market. I would say not even the third largest market. Why is it so? Because India, as we all know it, it belongs to the tier 1 cities or the cities where the penetration of products and services is huge. But roughly 50%, in fact, more than that, that comprises of 700 million people, they reside in the tier 3 and tier 4 towns of India. Rather, there are around 600,000 villages in India where we actually do not have sufficient resources to reach out to them. So what we are trying to do is that we are creating a fleet on street that would be helpful for the companies as well as for the government authorities to make those products and services reachable to all these people. By how we are doing is, we are creating a fleet of people, more than 200,000 digital runners, who will be providing all these services, helping us in creating data, helping us in collecting data by doing surveys and marketing and distribution of products and services. Currently, we are operational in more than 3,000 villages with a fleet of around 3,500 digital runners. We have worked with a lot of companies like Byju's, which have helped in the distribution of their educational platform. So essentially, why this is the right time to do it is because with the advent of Aadhaar and the banking, and the financial technologies, we're able to reach to all those people, to those 600,000, to those millions of people that are there in those villages. But what we feel is there is a challenge in how do you actually reach out to them, because you don't have the sufficient man force that can actually reach to the remotest parts of the country. So essentially, a digital runner is generally consists of a person who's a representative of a particular village. Generally, what we see is in almost every village, you'll find those people who's relatively more qualified and who's relatively very well conversant with the technologies. So at NXE, we have created a platform where we are onboarding those people and connecting them with the companies who require any sort of data or any sort of KYC or any sort of requirement or any sort of distribution or marketing strategies that they need to be implemented onto the remotest parts of the country. So that's what we do.
Judges, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So What exactly is a digital runner? What does he do? I mean, does he have a photocopying machine? What does he do?
So, digital runner is essentially a person who is relatively conversant with the technology.
I got
and
that.
his,
I got
yeah.
that. What does he? Does he
And-
have some kind of a?
Yes, so he has a mobile application wherein whatever task is assigned to him, it's given to him on this application. The tasks generally comprise of either data collection or KYCs or maybe distribution or background verification checks or maybe some marketing of a particular application or a particular product. So that's what we are trying to do with a digital. That's essentially a
How
digital
do you
runner.
ensure, how comfortable with you would I be, for example, if a digital runner comes to my house and says, okay, I need to, click your Aadhaar card or your PAN card.
So we have actually collaborated with a lot of background verification companies wherein they pass on our tasks. So let's say if somebody wants to get a verification done for a particular person, so we provide us with the details on our platform, and then we pass on that requirement to that digital runner who is in that corresponding location. And obviously, since it's not that we don't go randomly to those people. Once a task is assigned to us, that's when we approach that particular guy, and he's obviously aware of it about the verification or the survey, whatever is happening.
Okay. So this digital runner just collects the personal information from the customers, right? So how do you think that, how do you help your customers understand the value of your business?
I'm sorry.
How do you help your customers understand the value of your business?
Okay, so I'll give you an example. We've recently collaborated with a doctor discovery platform, wherein what we are doing is we are collecting data of doctors for their application from the remotest parts of the country. I mean, we have already, since with the 3,000 digital runners that we currently have, we have reached out to more than 9,000 villages and we have collected data for them. So that's a kind of value generating. It's an on-demand fleet that will be available for different countries, different companies, which can be utilized either to understand the customers or understand his requirements or maybe to market their product. So that's where the value we are generating for a company. Instead of rather hiring somebody else, we're providing them an access to an on-demand network of individuals who can be used at their disposal for whatever needs that may arise.
Hey, thank you and congratulations. I think it's a very interesting idea. Can you talk a little bit about, so your runners, are they employed by you? Are they on a variable?
No.
How do they get paid? How does this business, because that's the core issue,
yes,
right?
yes.
How do you
So-
make it pay?
so
Tell us a little bit about that and the business model that you have.
Yes. So these are paid only on the basis of the task that we are able to provide them. And let's say if the pricing of that specific requirements obviously calculated on individual basis. So if a company has a particular requirements, and we calculate the costs that are involved, and then that's when we provide the quotes. So we charge something for our platform to run the platform, and rest of this is passed on to the digital runner. So a digital runner essentially it's not employed with us, nor he's working full time with us. He's taking it as a source of some extra income, which is only given to him when there's a task that is being performed by the digital runner.
And what would be the top 5 types of things where you think you can get paid from corporates for this service?
Yeah. So background verification is one thing that is working out very well with us. And surveys is another thing. The third is data collection in the remotest part of the location. And we've also worked with Byju's for marketing of their application in those villages, because that's a segment that is always generally neglected. So these are the 4-5 areas which we think are going to be the topmost revenue items.
We have time for one more question.
So one more. What are the regulations, government regulations, you think that would impact your business model?
I think the government regulations will only be applicable on the verification front, because we also have our access. Hello. I think it's gone.
Great. Thank you very much, Sabram. Great job. Let's give a hand to all 6 of our GIST pitchers. I think we can all appreciate that this is a very difficult environment to give a pitch in. I think they all did an exceptional job. We're going to give the judges a whole 5 minutes to deliberate and to announce our winner. So we have only 5 minutes. Don't go far, and we'll be announcing the winner from the fintech and digital economy sector. Thank you very much.